host, Caitlin Chen. Thank you for tuning in to my financial wellness show where we get you financially fit 1 minute at a time.
That's
And
it.
it's not just for millennials, it is for everybody. I am so excited for my guest today. She is an author, speaker, coach, radio and television personality. Please help me welcome Dr. Barbara Young.
Well, hi there. I'm glad.
Hi, Dr.
I'm so happy to be on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Well, I'm happy to support you, and that's what it's all about. We women supporting other women. Isn't that it?
Yes, absolutely. And today we're going to talk about millennials. Now, I heard you started a millennial mastermind, Dr. Young. Tell me about that. Now, why did you start that, and what do you do?
Well, you know, I have been concerned for some time about millennials because we have a growing number of millennials that are in the universe. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And then as I began to do research some years ago and looked at the statistics that show in 2025 there will be 11 million millennials in the United States. So I'm not sure the numbers for the global numbers,
right?
But I am just so concerned, and I had a heart for them. And I'll tell you, it happened when I went to Dallas, Texas, and I was there for a conference with about 800 women. And I was so delighted to go to what they had set up for like a beauty bar. And so I went in the beauty bar to find out what was going on. And lo and behold, there were all these millennials. Well, someone had told them my age. And they were all kind of giggling and pointing and gesturing. And someone got the courage to come and say, "We heard that you were blank years of age." And I said, "Really?" And they said, "Oh my God, our grandmothers, you could be our great grandmother." And I said, "Well, how old are you?" And so they were telling me their ages, and they ranged, you know, like the 20, 23. I think the oldest person was 26. And I was so amazed that of their freshness, their enthusiasm. And I posed the question, do you think that millennials get a bad break? They said yes. It was a resounding yes. Right. And I said, let's do something about it. And with that, at that moment, I knew that I wanted to help and to change all of the words that have been said negatively about millennials, but let's change that into a positive force. So with those young women in Dallas is where I started the nucleus of the mastermind for millennials. And because of the long distance in trying to get that created and get them involved, I had them actually started in Dallas. Then I came back here and I began to plan and think about how I would do something, what would look good for millennials. Well, something else happened. I was doing a public policy seminar for the Los Angeles African American Women's Public Policy Institute. And every year I've done their leadership and public policy development classes. So this year, there were more millennials in that class than ever before. So when I was done with teaching that class, all of these young women, about 8 of them, came just running after me, and they were all millennials. And they were saying, we would like to have more. And one even asked for a prayer meeting. You know, could you start a prayer group? And so I said, well, sure, I'll be happy to help. And so from those young women, I approached them later, and we started the steering committee to develop the Millennial Mastermind, which has become what we call today, Millennials Speak Today. And that's where it started. So we've had 3 sessions of the mastermind groups, and we also did a Facebook Live a couple of weeks ago where we invited other people, millennials, to join the group, the Facebook Live group, where I'm talking about living from the inside out.
Great, great. Well, Dr. Young, you have so much wisdom to teach the millennials, and I know you're gonna do so well in your Millennial Mastermind. Now, a little bit, the reason I got started talking to, to millennials,
right,
is because I pretty much learned the hard way in terms of economics. And I've gone through quite a few challenges when I was in school, of course, we weren't taught about money, how to save money,
Right.
how to invest, and prepare for emergencies.
Right.
And I was in the mortgage business, and I just bought homes after homes after homes, not with cash, but with loans.
Oh,
And
really?
I was in the mortgage business, but one day in 2008, of course, we had the market crash.
Right.
And within 24 hours, I lost all of my income.
Wow.
And so I
Caitlin.
lost 2 homes. I had 2 foreclosures, 3 short sales, and I went back to renting. And this
Oh,
is
my
why,
goodness.
yes, after that experience, I wanted to give back to the millennials. I wanted to teach them about money because it's not taught in school. And it's really important. Instead of learning the hard way, why not learn from somebody who's already had this experience?
Well, you know, you're absolutely right. And because one of the things that I advocate is that I really don't feel, and that was my love for millennials, is I don't feel that you have to necessarily learn by having these hard knocks and experiences, but you can actually learn from others who have had those experiences. And if you can be the beneficiary by learning and listening and taking heed. So I want to applaud you for that. And, you know, and actually for being authentic to share that you had all these properties and lost every last one of them.
Yes, because I was making a lot of money in the mortgage business. And with that money, I paid my mortgages. And I thought this was going to go on forever. Well, that wasn't true.
Oh, wow.
And so I went into banking. And of course, with banking, I don't make that much money. And of course, every paycheck that I get, I have to sustain myself. I pay rent and food.
Right.
And this is why I couldn't pay my mortgages anymore. And I did learn the hard way. And now I'm back on my feet. I own my own condo again.
That's great.
But investment properties, I have to be a little more careful.
Right.
I tread on light waters before I get back in.
I just want to ask this question. Did that, you know, by losing the properties, did that make you fearful for investing again? I mean, do I hear you saying that? I mean, there's a little bit of trepidation about maybe investing in property again because of that experience?
There is a little bit of trepidation. I think now I just have to be a little bit more careful. What if something happens? What if there's another recession? Am I going to have enough money to pay my mortgage if I don't get the rent money coming in?
Well, it's interesting that you say this, because when we start talking about the millennials, where's their mindset? And why did you say that from your own experiences that you started to reach out to millennials? So what was it about them or their behavior in the banking industry? What is it that you found out that you wanted to solve? Because I know you have a blog.
Yes,
You started a blog, so.
Yes, I do have a blog, and I feel like the cost of living now, the cost of an education, it wasn't like that when I was in school. And when they come out of college, they have all this debt, but yet they can't get into the career of their dreams. They have to work from the ground up. And I see that all the time in my clients. And I see that they don't save. Every paycheck that they get, what they do is they spend it first, when they're supposed to be saving for themselves. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself the 10%, and then whatever you have, you can always cut down on expenses. Whether it be eating out. I know millennials love their food. They like eating out, taking pictures, putting it on Instagram. But, you know, in moderation. And that's why I wanted to speak to them. It's very important to save while you're young.
You know, I'm going to take you back, because I remember a short time ago, we had a conversation about what you were doing. And I remember you telling me, you know, you're a little, anxious about, wow, these millennials, they don't know how to manage their checkbooks, and they're coming in and they're asking, me to help them with overdrafts, and, they were just like being, what you were saying, irresponsible. And I said, well, Caitlin, why don't you write about it? Why don't you do something about it?
Absolutely.
And so, so for those of you out there, this goes back, because our conversations were, about what do we do? Because I had a heart for millennials. I mean, because, of course, I didn't always make the right money decisions, and I had to learn, but we weren't actually taught. So you started this blog with the intent of what, informing, or were you going to be complaining? No, you weren't.
No.
Were you going to be complaining and going,
I have to thank you for encouraging me to do a blog for millennials. No, I wasn't going to slap them on their hand. I wanted to address the fact that, back in the old days, we had a check register. Every penny we spent, we wrote it in. I think millennials now, because they grew up with computers, they rely on electronics to keep them. It's not that they're irresponsible. I think they're just using the electronics too much. So for example, if you have $5 in the account, let's just say you go buy something for $2. Now, it really depends on the merchant processing. Sometimes it doesn't get processed right away. If you spend that $2, well, you have $3 available, right? But really, it depends on the merchant processing machine. If it's done offline, it's not going to reflect in your bank account. And 5 hours later, if you forgot that you spent the $2, now you only have $3. Let's just say you go spend $4. Well, guess what? You're overdrawn. And that cup of coffee that you buy can cost you $30-something in overdraft fees.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and I see that all the time with my clients, and they just don't understand.
Are you doing something? I mean, with the blog that you have, are you giving them information to be informed about this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I am giving them information as to why, because I find a lot of millennials don't understand. They're like, well, you shouldn't have let me use my debit card, or you shouldn't have let me write this check. Unfortunately, banks, you can't change the way banks work. If you write a check but you don't have enough money, it just may or may not let it go through. And if it does let it go through, then it's going to charge an overdraft.
Well, it's going to be interesting when you have your interviews with some of the millennials to get their take on some of the challenges, because there's two sides to every story. So to listen to their side, and that's one of the reasons why I started the Millennials Speak Today, because that's what we want to hear, their voices. We want to be able to marry the two of us. I mean, I'm probably, I don't don't even want to say I'm not a baby boomer, but I'm of the age of wisdom and understanding. Okay,
yes.
Hopefully, but to have that open dialogue so that we're able to have a mutual exchange and to have their ideas. How can we better serve you? The bank should be saying, how can we better? That's my idea. How can we better serve you? And the millennials saying, well, these are some of the things how we can better help you, help us. So I think we have to be open for those conversations, and that's why I'm excited that you have this show, the Millennial Money Minute, and to really let the viewers and the listeners know some of the things that millennials are dealing with today. And I truly do have a heart for them, because I know that so many people have made all these bad comments about them. Oh, they're not this, and they're this, and they don't listen, and they know it all. And that's not necessarily true. But I think when individuals like yourself, who are open, who are transparent, and I thank you too for sharing, your losses, some of the things that you learned the hard way. And I didn't know how to manage money either when I was growing up. I mean, because I wasn't taught.
Right.
But one of the things that I did do was I started to teach my children, because I didn't want them to not know money doesn't grow on trees, because my kids would say, well, Mom, we need this, we need that. And I'd say, well, we can't afford it. And they said, well, Mom, you can use your credit card.
Yeah, there we go.
And so
they forgot you had to pay it back.
So then I used to complain, to my husband at the time that, wow, they must think we have a money tree in the backyard. Right. So, but learning about money and the effects of money, I think, is so important today with millennials. And so I know you're going to, cover other areas about this topic. But
yes,
I'm just excited.
Well, thank you, Dr. Young. And Dr. Young, I know you mentioned millennials have a bad break, but I think they have it much harder than we did, because the cost of education, you were in higher education, the cost of an education now is fourfold than when we went to school.
Absolutely.
Cost of medical care,
right,
you know, and a lot of millennials now are entrepreneurs, which means they don't have the health insurance from a large company. And
but why do you know, one of the things, have you thought about, why do you think many millennials become entrepreneurs? And I have asked that question because more of them are. You have like mom entrepreneurs, because they're you know, those who have children, they're finding ways to have an income. But one of the things that was shared with me recently was, look at their parents, look at what they came out of, and many of them during the years where 2007, 2008, there was a downfall.
yes,
They saw their parents go through several things. And many of them, maybe there was a single parent family they came from. And so all of those have made an impression on them as to how they want to live their lives. And, you know, I remember my grandmother, who said this, because they've said this about the millennials. My grandmother would say, oh, this generation is going to hell in a handbasket, you know. And my grandmother would say that. And then my mom would turn around. My mom would say, oh, my God, you guys, this generation is just, you know. And so it was sort of like every generation gets sort of a bad, you know, rap.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
So we don't want to ascribe that to this generation, but
not this generation,
to help them. But I think that they're a product of what they've seen.
Absolutely.
And what they've seen, they say, I don't want any parts of that.
Right, and I think millennials, they really want to help the community. They're very community based, and they want to make a difference in the world. Unlike baby boomers, I know baby boomers, they
wanted
were
money.
loyal.
They wanted money.
They were loyal to the company that they worked for.
Yeah.
And then the Generation Xers, they were loyal to their careers.
Yeah.
But then millennials now, they're actually loyal to the community, and they want to help, you know, the general public. Now, Dr. Young, with your millennial mastermind, do you talk about how they should be saving money?
No, we really haven't gotten to that point yet. And thank you for asking that question, because we have to start from the basics, and that basics is, how do you live from the inside out? What are your values? What are your core values? What do you really believe in? Do you really like who you are? Who are you? And getting that grasp of, I matter. I know who I am. I know that I matter. I know that I'm a God-fearing individual, that I have a purpose. I have a destiny. So we're at that stage where it's cleaning out some of the clutter,
Right.
cleaning out some of the old so we can input some of the new. And so that's what we've been focusing on, and that's what we call the living from the inside out. So we're taking it in modules. I like to think of it as modules. And so we're at phase 1 of who am I?
Right.
And getting rid of fears, getting rid of some of the old script that's been there, and writing a new script for oneself. So that's what we're doing. And that's why I'm so excited about it, is because I can see, you know, that the little glimpses of what I call,
it's a new way of thinking for them.
Well, it is a new way of thinking about me, that I matter, and that we have to forget the past in order to have a present.
Absolutely. Oh, wow.
In order to have a future. We want to have a present, we want to have a future, because we want to live in the now, not living in the past, what I didn't have, or what my mother didn't do, or what my dad didn't. I didn't have a dad in the home. But to look at what we have, and to realize that they're so precious, and they're so special to our Creator, and that there's a purpose and a plan for their lives. And that's what I'm about. So we'll take it in sequences, we'll take where we get into, and which is so important. Managing self is the first thing. You are the president, CEO of your own corporation. So in managing self, it comes in next, how we treat people, how we treat ourselves, how do we treat our money.
Yeah.
See, that all comes in a sequence.
You have to have
But if we
respect
go
for
the money
yourself
first, and I don't know who I am.
Right.
You know,
that's
I don't know
true.
what my values are.
I agree. Absolutely.
You know, to clarify, you know, the values. So that's where we are right now. But we will get there. We will get into how to build a business, how to build your brand,
right,
and to have outside speakers who are the expert in these areas to make sure that they're navigating a true path for themselves. And
Yes.
maybe discovering some talents and abilities that they never knew existed. And I do paper and pen exercises, so it's not just me lecturing, but it's actually guiding and helping you to discover yourself.
And talking about paper and pen, Dr. Young, I think it's great. Millennials now, they're just always on the internet. They're putting their heads down, looking on the computer. It's great that you have a mastermind with all the millennials in one room where you talk, you share information.
Yeah, it's a bit daunting in a sense because, having to come and sit in a sort of like a classroom session where you're going to, I think once people come and they realize it's interactive, it's engaging, it's live interaction, and then they begin to really like it. Because I think at first you're not even coming to some place where I'm going to sit for a couple of hours or 3 hours and listen to somebody. I think that's a bit daunting for some of the millennials. And that's why we went to Facebook Live, where people can see and hear speakers, me and others, because we'll have other speakers on,
right,
to share with them right there in their own living room or wherever, and they get the benefit of it. But for those who want to come and be there live and have paper, pencil exercises and engaging with other people in conversation, then that is where I come in with this mastermind. And
Great. Now, Dr. Young, do you suggest, you mentioned decluttering their mind, the millennials.
Mm-hmm.
Do you suggest that they not be on social media too much? Because sometimes when you're looking at social media, there's all kinds of things that are inflated, and then it makes them feel like, oh, well, I don't have this, I don't have that. Is that healthy for their minds? I mean, what would you suggest to millennials?
I don't really get into the suggestion of what they should and should not do.
Okay.
I that's the wrong approach for me, because if somebody tells me what I should not do, that is not gonna, I think you have to show a reason why. And you have to show them through modeling and like with the paper pencil exercises and being able to talk and engage with someone there about your values, about your feelings, helps them to break away from being just texting on the social media. So it's showing and living it, rather than saying, oh, I would suggest you guys not be on social media. I don't think that's the right approach.
Right.
You want to show by example, show them other ways that you can communicate. And really, what I found, the end result is people, they love it. I mean, because they come and they're able to, share my values with you, or in a group, and to discuss.
Make new friends.
And to discuss and to share things that I've never been able to share with anybody. So it's showing by example, rather than saying, no, I think social media is harmful and you guys shouldn't do that.
Right.
No.
That's the right approach.
Right.
Wonderful.
Well, that's my approach. Somebody else may, and look at it from a different point of view, but that's my point of view.
Great. Now, Dr. Young, I know you've been all over the world, incling Kenya.
Well,
you've spoken.
not quite, but I've been a few places.
Quite a few,
I've been on the continent of Africa. Yeah.
What do you find the differences in millennials in other countries as opposed to the United States? I mean,
well, I can't speak for anything. Well, more recently, I had some guests from Nairobi, Kenya, who were here, who are millennials, to talk about the fact that in Kenya, their population has grown so that there are more millennials now that are in the city of Nairobi. And so basically, they're very hungry, they're entrepreneurial spirits. They are very hungry for information, and much the same as we find some of the millennials here in the United States. But they are much, I think, hungrier for information, and want and very open for information of how they can be better. I like that line. I did a line, be better, not bitter. And so I think that's what I found just recently. But I think if we want to look globally, I asked this question not so long ago. What do we think that people all over the world are looking for? What are they looking for? I asked that rhetorical question. I got an answer that just came within my spirit.
okay.
people all over, I don't care if they're millennials or whomever, they're looking for meaning.
Right.
They're looking for meaning and purpose. Enough said.
Okay. Of course, all of us are looking for purpose in life, regardless of what nationality you are or what
Whether you're
age you are.
whatever age group that you are, you're looking for that.
Okay.
That just is coming from Dr. B. So, you know,
Great, great.
and that was the answer that came to me. That most people, they're looking for meaning, they're looking for purpose, and every human being has a right to know that they are here for a purpose. There's a plan for your life. There's a destiny for you. Otherwise, you're just sort of like I was at one time, running around in circles, trying to find my purpose, trying to find my meaning. And when I was able to step into my destiny, it was a straight trajectory. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and I made a straight line.
That's great. Well, Dr. Young, thank you so much for being on my show today and for starting the Millennial Mastermind. And thank you so much for tuning in to my show, and we will see you next week. This is Millennial Money Minute, and I'm Caitlin Chen. Thank you.